Hi, I'm Robbie Susan Chandler from RobbieSusanCardsandCrafts.com. I live in Quincy, Florida, right outside Tallahassee, Florida, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Please visit my website at www.RobbieSusanCardsandCrafts.com. I'm here today to share a project with you, so let's get crafting. This is the card we're going to make today. I've used the stamp sets, Garden Birdhouses, and Beautifully Happy as my focal stamp sets. Let's take a look at the cardstock that's used for this card. You will need a 8.5 by 5.5 sheet of sweet sorbet, scored at 5.5. You'll need a piece of basic black, 4 by 5.25. You'll need 2 4 by 5.25 pieces of basic white, and then you also will need this different and unusual vellum, a 4 by 5.25 piece, and it comes out of this pack called Vellum Layering Designs. And in this pack there's several designs. This is one that's done in black. They have the same sheet with the white print. This one I'm using has also a black print. Then it has a couple of sheets of mats done in white and black. It's very interesting and fun paper to use. Alright, let's look at the stamp sets. First we have Beautifully Happy. This is a celebration stamp set that you get free with a $100 purchase. Garden Birdhouses, which is in our annual catalog. For my background, I'm using dry brush. This is a great background stamp if you want something subtle. And for my inside piece, inside sentiment, I'm using Around the Bend. I'm using this corner. I'll show you here. Here I've already stamped my inside with my sentiment and my Around the Bend. And also here my basic black to the front. Okay, let's get started on this. First you need to take one of your basic white pieces, 4 by 5.25, and this is my dry brush stamp. And this will depend on how inky, I like the word inky, or juicy your ink pad is, as to how you'll do this. Now there's several things you could do, or a couple. First let's ink this up real good. And my pad is juicy right now because I just re-inked it after having classes all week. It had gotten quite light, so I have inked it up. Now I don't really want a really dark background, and I'll show you what it looks like. Let me get this corner. Show you what it looks like with a juicy ink pad. So we'll flip this over and give it a good press. And it will stick to it, but that's okay. Alright, now you see how dark this is? I really do not want it this dark, so I'm just going to flip it over and I'm going to stamp it again. I think we call this second generation stamping, or stamping off. I could have just put a sheet of paper in there and stamped on it and then removed it and stamped on my basic white piece. But I wanted to show you the difference in what it looks like straight on. Alright, here we go. It's a little bit better. I'm going to smash it down a little bit more in a few places. Okay. Alright, there's kind of what I wanted to look at. This part right in the middle is a little bit dark, but I think we can work with that. So let's just go on with this piece. Okay, so I know when you looked at this card you thought, whoa, look at all the coloring involved there. There really is not a lot of coloring. The birdhouses are really the only part we're going to do much coloring on. Now let's look at some inks we're going to use. By the way, the background was stamped with Pool Party. I like a little light background when I'm working with the sky effect. Alright, I have all of my stamps for these flowers and the birdhouses set up on my Stamparatus. This made things go much easier in my card class. And you'll notice I have this little L shape here. The Stamparatus doesn't really like to stamp real close to the hinge, so what I've done to alleviate that problem, or eliminate that problem, is I put this like 1-inch L-shaped border here. Okay, so we're going to start with the leaves and the birdhouses. I've got them both on the same side of my Stamparatus because they're both going to be stamped in Tuxedo Black Memento. And you probably are going to want to do this a couple of times because you really would like a really dark. See, that's okay, but I really want it much darker, so let's go again. And I found with Memento, sometimes I just have to scrub it around instead of patting it so much. I can get more ink coverage. Alright, let's see what stamp number 2 looks like. Oh, that's much better. I think I want to do the flower section a little bit darker. So let's go one more time on that part. And you could re-ink your Memento Black and not have to do it this many times, but I just wanted a good dark, crisp look. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of dab off this side for the moment, since I didn't bring my cleaner over here. Okay, let's flip it around. On side 2, I have put the stamp for the leaves, and we're going to stamp those in Shaded Spruce. And what I did for my class, right down here on the side, I don't know if you can see it, but I put a little label that said Shaded Spruce so my customers would know what color to use. So let's pat that up and give it a stamp. Ah, look at there. I'm going to do it one more time just to get a little bit darker because it is going to have to show through that vellum. Okay, there we go. I love this stamp set because it just lines up really easily. It looks very nice. Alright, so that's part of the flower section up there. If you notice, we still have the big flowers and this little pot of flowers going out here. So what I did, I attached my other plate below on the other part. See down here? I've attached my other plate here. I'm going to ink it up with the Sweet Sorbet. Bring it over. Give it a good push. Let's see how dark it ended up. Oh, that's pretty good. Let's do one more though, just to get it a little bit darker. Alright, so there's our flower. And you see how nicely it's layering up? Let's wipe this side off. A little pat. And flip it over. Now what I've done on the other side, I have the little, you can't see it because it's clear, but I have the other little pod. And I'm doing it in Mango Melody. We're going to stamp it in Mango Melody. Let's give it a stamp here. Well, that's pretty good, but I want it darker. And this Mango Melody is kind of a light color, so let's go 3 times just to get a good rich color. Okay, so there we have it. Let's see, you don't have to do that much coloring for this stamp set. You just line up the stamps and stamp them all in place. I think that turned out really nice, and it really wasn't that hard to line up when I was putting them on the Stamparatus. Alright, so there we have. Now when you have 2 plates on your Stamparatus, don't try to fold them on top like that. They don't really go flat. You should take the other one off and just lay it on it. Alright, now let's look. Okay, we've got our birdhouses, our flowers, and we need to hang our birdhouses. So I took the light basic black, small end, and just kind of line my paper up on the grid here, and put a ruler down, and just drew a line down to my birdhouse. And do the same thing over here on this one. There we have hanging birdhouses now. Now I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me color these birdhouses, but here are the colors I used. For the roof, both the roof on both of them, I used light gray granite. For this birdhouse, I used Tahitian Tide, the dark one. For this one over here, I used dark Daffodil Delight. And for the door, I used dark Sweet Sorbet. And the Mango Melody marker, I colored in the middle of my flower. Okay, so this one I've already colored. Now look at the difference in the backgrounds. If you can see, you're going to get a different background every time you stamp. Okay, now this is what kind of confused a lot of people. The way I cut this, they thought that the black piece, they thought looking at this, that the black piece was cut and this was behind it. But I didn't do it that way. I cut this piece with the layering diorama dies, and I used the next to the large, let me look. Yes, I used the next to the largest one. And I'm going to pop it over here on my big shot, just out of camera range, but I'll show you how I lined it up. I tried to get as much of the flower at the top as I could, and then I wanted a little bit of border on each side of the birdhouses. So we'll pop that on there. Run that through. I love these diorama dies. They just give so much interest to your cards when you cut these interesting shapes. So here we have that piece. We remove this, and here's our piece for our card front. So let's go ahead and pop that on here. One thing I was going to show you is couldn't decide if this little part at the top was part of the birdhouse or if it was the hanger. So on this one I went with it as a hanger. This one I went on it with it as part of the birdhouse. Either way, I think it looks fine. Your choice. And see, here's where I stamped on the back of this one. A little too dark. No, there's the black. All right, so let's put this right here. You hear my clock playing in the background. I thought I'd be through by the time the hour came, so it wouldn't be playing, but it plays Americana, Christmas songs, and hymns, and right now I've got it set on hymns. Okay, so here, now several people decided that this is all they wanted on their card. They didn't want to put the vellum because it covered too much, they thought. And so when you look at it, here it is with the vellum. Here it is without. And some people even did not even cut this part. They decided just to put the whole square frame on there. Now I'm going to show you a trick for putting this vellum on, because this was the major problem that a lot of people have. I know all of you probably have your own methods, but this is one we came up with. Put a little bit of adhesive on your finger. I'm going to put a little bit right here because I know my sentiment is going to be hiding that. We've also found out this glue doesn't show a whole lot on white. So, got it on my finger. Next, I just tap my fingers together until the white goes clear. And then I touched it to the corners just to give it a little tackiness. Turned it over. Trying to decide which way I want to do this. And put it right on top. And just kind of match those corners up. Oh, you see where I put that glue there in the middle? Doesn't even show. But you see my corners now? You don't see the adhesive anywhere. This seems to work quite well for vellum. It's just put on the fingers till it's clear. Stick it to the corners. Now, my sentiment came from, I found the stamp set. It was from the Garden Birdhouses, that birthday wishes. Stamped it on a piece of white and cut a black piece, and these are from Stylish Shapes, these two dies right here. Now here's a little trick. I don't know if all of you know this, but Stampin' Up! Sells black dimensionals. So when you're working with black, see, they're black. when you're working with black cardstock, I've got black dimensionals here and here, so you don't really see them as much when you have them on your cardstock. They're in our annual catalog, and you get 2 sheets of the big ones and you get 2 sheets of the minis. So that's a pretty good deal. They're come in very handy on this black cardstock. So let's put our sentiment right down here. And I got that stuck to my finger. Okay. There we have our card. Now, it wasn't quite as much coloring as you thought, just the little birdhouses. And this stamp set's beautiful. This beautiful day. Beautifully happy, beautifully happy. And see here, this was the outline piece we used. And here are the filler pieces that you just line up and stamp to fill in. Really quite easy once you get it lined up. And then here's the inside again. Hope each moment of your day is as special as you are. So here's today's card. I hope you enjoyed watching me make this card. I have a link below for you to click on to get a free download, and you can see the supplies on that list. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Have a good day. Bye.